Hey everyone, welcome to our first ever playoff Skarey Movies. I'm choosing a topic which I think most people will probably understand why right from the title. We're going to take a look at the difference between ugly wins versus pretty losses and come to the conclusion I think we'll all recognize that ugly wins are definitely the preferable of the two. We're going to start our journey this week with the interception directed towards Cole Beasley, as of course we're reviewing the wild card round, Buffalo Bills versus Miami Dolphins. One thing to note in this game, there was a lot of blitzing from the Dolphins. I believe I saw over 50% rate of blitz, which is just astronomically high. This particular play, though, four-man rush, we do need to gain this line. Cole Beasley is past the line. This is his specialty. Get the ball right after the sticks. And one thing I did see addressed a couple times this week, but I just want to prove in the frame by frame. It's hard to see in the shadow, but we do have the ball here. We do have the defender about to make contact. We're going to advance one more frame. Ball's not quite yet to Cole Beasley. Here we go. We do see the ball up here again. And yeah, there's some early contact. We're talking about 3-4 frames with my particular recording speed on this one, 19 frames per second. We're looking at maybe a quarter or a little bit less of a second. One of those ticky-tack yes or no calls. Yeah, technically we do have some early contact, but nothing to be too terribly worried about. But bottom line is here, ball pops up, just unfortunate. We just have defender waiting with arms wide open, and then even further is able to skirt around the pile, create this natural block, and you know what? I don't really want to talk about the positives of the Dolphins on this one, so we're going to skip the return. But with this, what we probably call an ugly win, there were still some phenomenal plays, and I don't want to lose sight of that. So for our next play to highlight, we're going to go with a touchdown to Dawson Knox. And this one's notable because we do have Knox coming across the screen. Not quite a jet sweep, but definitely not a typical formation or route you're going to see from the tight end. Allen is initially chasing this direction, see where things are going. But you see right down in the middle of the play here, he is starting to check out the middle of the field, see what he's got open. Because right here we do have maybe some ambiguity on if Knox is going to come open or not. Doesn't like what he sees, comes back to the outside, and now we have a foot race here. And of course, Allen's pretty good at those foot races. Throws the ball, and we're going to go frame by frame on this. Just check out the angle. This is one of those, Allen sees the defender with a back turned, takes a chance, and just look at how narrow that window is. Trust his player to go make that catch, and we all saw the review during the live broadcast. Good touchdown. Now, part of the next couple plays, I'm going to throw a bunch of numbers on your screen, and we're going to compare these later to our game representative of a pretty loss. And specifically, we have Josh Allen throwing for 352 yards, 59% completion rate. Not the worst. And this is really where we start talking about why this would be categorized as an ugly win. They pulled it off, but these mistakes are certainly not what we want to see, especially during the playoffs. And we go to the right side here, we have our Miami scoring drives. Really only one drive that sustained. Nothing else was above 38 yards. Really not a ton of movement. Good argument that the defense was playing overall pretty well, but unfortunately special teams and offensive errors really led to short fields and opportunities for the Dolphins, furthering that narrative that what we're really looking at is an ugly win. And I know you may not want to relive this, but for our pretty loss, we're going to take a look at last year's divisional round game versus Kansas City. And we're going to start off with a play that doesn't really look like it would be that out of place with the Miami game that we just witnessed. So take a look if some of this looks familiar. I just did a GIF breakdown on BuffaloRumblings.com, breaking down 13 passes of 20 yards or longer. This one, our air yards is right around in the 50 air yards range. So from the 25, and actually let me correct that a little bit. Allen drops back a little bit, so we have well over 50 air yards. From the 25, lands at about the 25 on the other side of the field, and we have Gabe Davis sprinting for the touchdown. This play design, this concept, this aggressive mentality, while technically was under Brian Dable last year, Ken Dorsey is certainly living as well, and something again we saw against the Miami Dolphins. And for our last play, we're going to take a look at another touchdown to Gabe Davis, of course. And let's see how much this might mirror the one to Dawson Knox. We have Josh Allen kind of looking around the field. We have a narrowing window, and we have him trusting his player to go and make the play. This isn't quite as miraculous as the Dawson Knox one, and I do have a reason for that. So let's celebrate this victory. We're going to throw some more numbers on the board. We have Josh Allen for 329 yards. Big things that stand out here, though, less yards, but better completion percentage, and more importantly, no turnovers. I didn't highlight it on the last slide. We also have some extra rushing yards, so Allen again is doing more to keep the ball moving. Now on the flip side, see how this impacts what Kansas City ended up having to do. They certainly put more points on the board than Miami and more scoring opportunities, and overall, while the Dolphins only had one drive of 75 yards and everything else was under the 38 mark, that's pretty much all we see is over the 38. Only a couple of short fields for Kansas City, and that really led to this phenomenal game of two football titans really coming together and trading blows for over 60 minutes in this particular instance. So what's the ultimate point here? Well, obviously, you prefer the ugly win to the pretty loss, but also want to take a look at the narrow kind of razor's edge that lives between the two types of games. I highlighted 13 passes over on BuffaloRumblings.com, which show the tendency to be aggressive. A couple of those plays hit, and we're talking about a blowout victory potentially over the Dolphins rather than this ugly kind of sloppy win. And again, a lot of the same things that were mirrored in the Kansas City game. And the Kansas City game, just with a few less errors, really is being treated as game of the century type material, or something we'll be kind of remembering for the rest of our lives. So again, yeah, it's okay to be a little bit critical at times, but celebrate the ugly wins because they're much better than the alternative. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check out other work at BuffaloRumblings.com, and of course, you're free to call me a jerk in the comments.